All right, today we're diving deep into Derek Walcott's incredible, surreal play, Dream on Monkey Mountain. This thing is a powerhouse. It's all about identity, colonialism, and that big, messy question of what it really means to find your way home.
And that really is the central question, isn't it? It's painful. It sits at the very heart of the play and honestly at the heart of the entire postcolonial experience. I mean, think about it. For people whose entire culture, their language, their sense of who they are, was just systematically taken apart, finding a place to belong is a massive, massive struggle. And this feeling of being broken into pieces, it's the deep wound left by colonialism. It's this psychological shattering that our main character has to somehow heal. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to follow him on that journey.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to break down our hero's quest for himself into 5 stages. First, we'll look at his fractured identity. Then we'll explore his dream of escape, face the demons that try to pull him off course, watch him make a pretty violent choice, and finally, see how he finds where home really is. So first up, Section 1. Look, to get where our hero is going, we first have to understand where he's coming from. We've got to get a feel for the world that shaped him and the deep internal conflict that basically defines his whole life.
Let's meet our guy, Makak. He's an old charcoal burner, and he lives like a total hermit, completely cut off from society on this place called Monkey Mountain. But his isolation, it's not just physical. It's this profound spiritual and psychological loneliness that's really a mirror for his entire community. This line, wow, it's just devastating. Just let that sink in. For 30 years, Makak says he hasn't looked at his own reflection. He even stirs the water with his hands before he drinks, just to shatter his own image. This shows you a man who is so filled with self-loathing that he literally cannot stand the sight of himself.
So where does this kind of deep self-hatred even come from? Well, to get Makak, you have to understand this really crucial and kind of sinister colonial tool, the creation of the other. See, the colonizing power defines itself as the norm, as superior, by painting the people they've colonized as different, savage, less than human. And in this play's world, Black Caribbeans were often dehumanized with the slur monkeys. And that's a label that has been eating away at Makak's soul. So when your reality is this painful, how do you get out? How does a person even begin to overcome a feeling of worthlessness that deep? For Makak, the answer, well, it comes to him in a dream. Makak's mind basically cooks up this powerful, surreal escape plan. He dreams that he isn't some poor old charcoal burner at all. No, he's a king, and he's on a journey back to a glorious ancestral Africa. It's a total fantasy, but it's one where he can finally grab onto a noble past that colonialism tried so hard to erase. And this dream is a direct response to his waking life. He says he's exhausted by his own race, a blackness he compares to the charcoal he literally burns for a living. So this fantasy of being an African king, it's not just some idle daydream. It's a psychological rebellion against the world that taught him to hate the color of his own skin.
But, as we all know, the path to figuring yourself out is never a straight line, is it? On his dream journey, Makak gets confronted by 2 really powerful temptations. You could call them 2 demons that offer him fake, dead-end paths to an identity.
Okay, so on one hand, he's tempted by this vision of a beautiful white goddess. She represents the ultimate colonial fantasy, the idea that if he just tries to be like them, to assimilate, he can get acceptance and power in the white world. The play calls it the rage for whiteness. Then, on the other hand, you've got his friend Mystique. He sees Makak's new spiritual vibe as a product to be sold, a way to get rich quick. This is all about adopting the colonizer's own corrupting obsession with money. And here's the kicker. Both of these options are a trap. Assimilation or exploitation, neither one is a road to freedom. They're just different kinds of prisons, and they're both designed to manipulate him and lead him even farther away from figuring out who he truly is on his own terms. And all this leads us to the shocking, violent climax of Makak's journey, where he finally realizes he has to make a really radical choice. So here's how it all goes down. First, Makak has this huge light bulb moment. He realizes the romantic dream of being an African king is just as much a fantasy as the colonial ideal offered by the white goddess. They're both just illusions someone else created. Then his dream advisors tell him that to be truly free, he has to kill the source of his fantasy. And so, in this wild, climactic dream sequence, he does it. He beheads the white goddess. Now, this act is hugely symbolic. It's not about literal violence, okay? It's about psychological freedom. As one critic perfectly put it, this is a sound reaction against a fantasy life alienated from reality. By symbolically destroying this image, he is forcefully rejecting all the outside definitions that have been shoved on him his whole life, both the colonial one and the romantic African one. So, after blowing up his own fantasies, where does that leave Makak? Well, our final section here reveals a really powerful and ultimately healing conclusion. And just like that, Makak wakes up. The dream is over. He's not some powerful king in a mythical Africa. He is right back where he started, stuck in a jail cell on his Caribbean island. But, and this is a huge but, he is not the same broken man we met at the beginning of this journey.
And in this incredibly moving moment, his friend says Makak belongs right here. And the corporal agrees, saying, "Here is prison. Our life is a prison." What the play is suggesting here is so profound. Home and identity, they aren't found in some fantasy escape to the past. They're found by facing the difficult, imprisoned reality of right here, right now.
And this is where the play gives us its most brilliant insight. By refusing to escape, Makak unlocks a totally new way of seeing himself. It's this concept called polyrhythm, this powerful idea that a new, whole identity can be created not in spite of being broken into pieces, but because of it. It suggests that Caribbean culture isn't a broken version of something else. It's a vibrant, unique thing all its own, born from the tragic clash of all these different worlds. So, the whole point of his healing is this. Identity isn't about choosing one history over another, Africa or Europe. It's about owning all the pieces, even the painful ones, and creating something brand new from them. It's a roadmap for finding a self that's not rooted in some myth, but in the complex, hybrid, and powerful present. And the final proof of his transformation comes in this beautiful, quiet moment at the very end. After decades of just being Makak, the monkey, he remembers his birth name, Felix. In Latin, Felix means happy or fortunate. By finally embracing his true, complicated reality, he reclaims not just his name, he reclaims his humanity. And so, Dream On Monkey Mountain leaves us with this one last, powerful question that just kind of hangs in the air. Makak had to create this massive, violent dream just to destroy his old stories and find himself. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the stories, the dreams, and the fantasies that we all build for ourselves just to find our own place in the world?